Oh, what is the upskis, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GXHockeyCast. We're on episode 97. Connor McDavid of My Little Hockey Show, where once a week I talk about all the major things and news that's happening in the NHL, mainly focusing in on the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Calgary Flames. Those are my two favorite teams, but I'll be talking about all 32 teams on this podcast. So, what are we going to be talking about today? We got to be talking about the playoffs. It's round one, probably the most exciting time, at least for me anyway. I would imagine other people of the NHL season been waiting for this all freaking year. This NHL regular season for me, at least as a Leaf fan, was a little bit on the back burner. I was more interested in other teams this season, but we're finally here in the first round. Before we dive into the games, I'm going to do the two Western previews, the two series that were not set in stone last week. So we'll preview those, and then we'll talk about the games that have gone on. The Boston-Toronto series continues, and we'll also touch on some of the final season notes to finish it out. But let's start off with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the defending Stanley Cup champions. They draw the Dallas Stars, or I guess Dallas draws the Vegas Golden Knights, which, I mean, yes, this is another of those conversations where people are like, this is bullshit. Like, Dallas, an excellent season that they have, and they draw the Stanley Cup champ, the former, or the defending, there it is, the defending Stanley Cup champions, Vegas Golden Knights. But they're obviously the Golden Knights, and the playoffs, pretty much everything from the regular season tends to get wiped away, and Vegas didn't have the most outstanding regular season. Thankfully, they had an outstanding start, which I didn't expect that kind of start for Vegas. Usually, the Stanley Cup champions, don't come flying out of the gate like that. I feel like they won like their first 11 of 12 games or something. They were outrageous out of the beginning, and then injuries start to happen, and then they don't start playing as good. Goaltending starts to fall apart a little bit, and then, of course, you get the classic Vegas controversy, which is at an all-time peak right now because Mark Stone, Tomas Hertl, everybody is back for game one, and nobody was pissed off about it. I had a good laugh, and it gets even funnier once we get into the game, but let's preview the series first, and I feel it is fitting to start with the defending Stanley Cup champions, Vegas Golden Knights. Let's take a look at this lineup now that it's pretty fully back to full health here. So line one, Ivan Barbashev, Jack Eichel, and Jonathan Marchessault, last year's Conn Smythe winner. You got some pretty good goal production right there. 19 goals, 31 goals, 42 goals from Jonathan Marchessault. Good amount of shots being produced from this lineup. Lots of power play points from Eichel and Marchessault. Barbashev, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're going to see the reason Barbashev was brought into Vegas, as they did last year. Regular season, 19 goals, 26 assists. Not that much. I mean, almost about 20 goals. I'd give him the 20-goal mark there. So, I mean, he's good, but he's even better in the playoffs. He's very nasty, not fun to play against on a game-to-game basis. So that is a very nice top line. Jack Eichel is a excellent top line center, and they have a very nice looking center or second line here with Chandler Stevenson, Tomas Hertl, or whatever, and Mark Stone. So Mark Stone is back. Like it or not, he is back in the lineup, and he scored the first goal of the series, which I had a good laugh about that. It's funny, it's just, I know friggin' Dallas fans aren't laughing about that, but that was pretty friggin' funny. Regardless, Mark Stone didn't play all the games this season, obviously, but 16 goals out of him. You know what he's all about. He's a big game guy. He is the captain of the team, and yeah, he is unbelievable at two-way game. He is so good defensively. He is a legend at stick checking. He is so good at taking the puck away from you and scoring in big moments. So Mark Stone is a massive threat for the Vegas Golden Knights. Tomas Hertl, so far so good, man. He is looking to be fitting in quite nicely, but it's very early. But Tomas Hertl, I feel like it's been a while since he's been in the playoffs, but when he was, I feel like he was scoring some big goals there too. So watch out for Tomas Hertl. Now, I don't know why I'm saying his name so weird. Tomas Hertl. But you have to take his stats with a grain of salt because he played majority with the Sharks and he was injured. But 17 goals, 21 assists. And then Chandler Stevenson's had a bit of a up and down year. Very inconsistent, explodes for a bunch of points, but 16 goals, 35 assists. I don't know if he missed very many games. It doesn't have their games listed here for some reason. But Chandler Stevenson, usually I thought he was a center, but yeah, it might be the last, probably guaranteed going to be the last season for Chandler Stevenson, but a good freaking player right there. Third line, Brett Howden, William Karlsson, and Anthony Mantha. I mean, Anthony Mantha is a massive person, so though he's not known for using it, he's more of like a finesse power forward, but 23 goals, 21 assists out of him. You got freaking William Karlsson, Wild Bill. He's going to have a good playoff run if they go deep, or just in general, 30 goals, 30 assists. Really good season out of William Karlsson, and he is an awesome two-way player as well, and clutch in the playoffs. And then you got Brett Howden. I don't know much about Brett Howden and his role in team. 8 goals, 11 assists. I don't know if he played a whole bunch. And then their fourth line, William Carrier, Nicholas Waugh, and Keegan Colasar. That is a gnarly fourth line. We saw what they can do last year for Vegas. It's just a destructive fourth line that has a ridiculous forecheck, and they can score a goal every here and again. 6 goals, 13 goals, 8 goals, but you know they're going to be pitching on some big goals, especially William Carrier. And Nicholas Waugh on the fourth line, he had a pretty decent regular season. I know he had some hot and cold streaks there, but not bad. And now the bread and butter for the Vegas Golden Knights. Their defense is awesome. You got Noah Hannafin there now with Alex Pietrangelo. That is just, whoof. That is a unbelievably good pairing right there. 13 goals out of Hannafin, 4 goals, 29 assists out of Pietrangelo. Pretty damn good year out of Noah Hannafin there. I really haven't been keeping eyes on him since he got over there to Vegas, but he seems to be a nice, clean transition, a very solid two-way defenseman right there. Very good with the breakout pass and breaking up plays. Not a very physical defenseman, but Pietrangelo is one of the best defensemen, all-around defensemen in the game. More towards the defensive side, but he is very, very good defensively. Second pair, Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore. Unreal freaking second pairing right there. Braden McNabb. He can bring that physical side. Lots of blocks out of him. That's a very big blocking team like that. I will say the defending pairs on the first line, 121 blocks, 160 blocks. You got 206 blocks out of Braden McNabb. So he's going to be out there blocking a lot. Shea Theodore, an offensive threat, bomb of a shot, power play threat. And then their third pair, Alec Martinez, the blocking king, and Zach Whitecloud. So yeah, that's just a big, mean defensive core. And then their goaltenders are way down here. There we go. So far, I believe they went with Logan Thompson in the playoffs so far. He and Aiden Hill have had fairly similar stats throughout the regular season. Logan Thompson, a 25-14-5, 908 save percentage. Aiden Hill, 19-12-2 with a 909. So pretty similar. They went with Logan Thompson game 1. They got the win out of it, so they're probably going to go with him the next game as well. But it was Aiden Hill that won them the cup last year. So if Logan Thompson fumbles, I could see Aiden Hill going in there. But so far, so good. They're both, goaltending's tough. If one of them can get hot. The goaltending hasn't been excellent down the stretch. I believe one of them was coming in hotter than the other one. Regardless, going into it, they're going with Logan Thompson. So that is a very nasty lineup. We know what this team can do in the playoffs. We saw how effective they were on their run to the Stanley Cup last season with their size. The only guy, the big talk was, there's only one guy under 6'2" or 3, and that was the guy that won the frickin' Conn Smythe. So, yeah, they're a big, mean, heavy team, but the Dallas Stars, talked about it last week, maybe the most deep team in the league. So let's take a look at the Dallas Stars lineup. Line 1, Jason Robertson, Rupe Heinz, and Joe Pavelski. I love this line so much. You got Jovo Cop, Little Joe, now becoming Jumbo Joe, and now the ageless wonder Joe frickin' Pavelski. Another awesome season for him. Let me just pull up all the season stats for everybody. like, what can I say about Joe Pavelski, man? He just keeps getting it done. 27 goals out of him, 30 goals out of Rupe Heinz, and 29 goals out of Jason Robertson. So some people might be on Robertson and Heinz for having a little bit of a dip in point production this year, but I think they were just relying on the team as a whole for more points. Like, I know it's different from the video game, but in NHL, when I would have a team that is just stacked first line to fourth line, the goal scoring would be spread out more, and my superstars would have like a point per game instead of like 110 points or something that they could do if they were being a little bit more selfish. But I think Jason Robertson and Rupe Heinz, I don't know. I think other guys were having more production throughout the lineup, and we'll talk about it throughout. But we know Jason Robertson, big, skilled forward. Rupe Heinz, same thing, and he likes to shine when it comes playoff time. Jason Robertson already has had some goals, or he had a goal, and Joe Pavelski, he is just so clutch, and God, I'm rooting for Dallas in this one, mostly because of Joe Pavelski, but I like this team. Second line, Jason Marchment, Matt Duchene, and Tyler Seguin. Matt Duchene, an excellent pickup for Dallas. He gave them 25 goals. Seguin had a pretty decent season, 25 goals out of him. Only 27 assists, but 25 goals is good. And 22 goals out of Mason Marchment, who, yeah, he'll be doing some shit out there in the playoffs. He likes to hit. He's big. He's got that playoff snot, so I expect him to be rather effective. It's going to be Matt Duchene and Tyler Seguin. You're going to be watching. See if Tyler Seguin, he's had those really quiet playoffs before, but he's produced in the past, and same with Duchene. Third line, Jamie Benn, Wyatt Johnson, and Logan Stankoven. Oh my goodness, I love this line as well. Jamie Benn had an excellent run down the stretch. He is firing on all cylinders going into the playoffs. He got another goal in the game, and he's coming in with 21 goals. Wyatt Johnson, this kid is unbelievable. 32 goals for him, another 30-goal season. And, man, if this kid keeps going and he gets a bigger role on this team, I could see a 40. Who knows where this kid can go, but he is excellent. A slow start, but he's been fire down the stretch, and he is a huge threat on that third line with Logan Stankoven, their little freaking water bug out there. He is a little talented guy, but oh man, watch out for Stankoven making a nice pass in that first game. And their fourth line, Sam Steele, Radek Faksa, and Evgeny Dadonov. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Radek Faksa, a really good fourth line center for them. A lot of teams would like him on their third line, but that's a line that can do something as well. 9 goals, 7 goals, and 12 goals, but defensively responsible. I don't know much about what Sam Steele has provided for them since he came in, if he's become more of a two-way forward, but not bad fourth line right there. That is a nasty, 3 deadly lines right there for sure for offense, and then a pretty solid-looking fourth line. Defense, you got Tom Harley, one of the more underrated, non-talked-about defensemen. 15 goals out of that guy, and Miro Heiskanen, we know what Miro Heiskanen's all about. Just all-around elite, unreal defenseman. And that is a nasty top pairing right there for sure. Second pair, Esa Lindell and Chris Tanev. Nothing wrong with that either. So didn't say the blocks. 135 out of Harley and 162 out of Heiskanen. So a little bit more of a skilled offensive pairing, but we know Heiskanen, he is an unbelievable skater and just very, very good defensively, so unreal. Second pair with Lindell Tanev, that's your more defensively responsible. 205 blocks out of Tanev, 162 out of Lindell. Not much point production, but we know what they're going to be doing. They're going to be hitting, they're going to be protecting the front of the net, and they're very good defensively. Third pairing, Ryan Suter and Nils Lundqvist. Suter, he was a little bit of a liability for the Stars last year. So far, so good for him, but a veteran defenseman, 111 blocks, 38 blocks out of Nils Lundqvist. I don't know if he got into that many games, but a young defenseman that they paid a first-round pick for. At least it's good that he's in. It's good to see that he's in the lineup, so They have that. And then in net, you got the Ottman, Jake Ottinger, who started a little shaky, but turned it the fuck on down the stretch, which I feel Dallas at this point, a little bit of a veteran team that way, where they're like, we're not going to blow our load throughout the regular season. We know what we're going for. The Stanley Cup, that's what's important. But 35-14-4 record, 905 save percentage, so not eye-popping, but Jake Ottinger is kind of the wild card here. What Jake Ottinger are you going to get in these playoffs? The one that fucking almost won the cup for Dallas. He was so freaking good. And then last year, not so great. So I think we're going to be getting something in between, but who knows? Jake Ottinger, definitely a wild card in this series. Now, in terms of who do I think is going to win the series, I'm going to go with the Dallas Stars. It's going to be a very difficult series. I got Dallas in 7, I do believe. I think I have. So it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be an unreal series. I watched game 1, most of it. The beginning, that first period was fucking insane. I was not expecting that many goals. And the Dallas crowd, oh my God, they are electric. That is one of my favorite parts of playoff time. The crowds are just insanity. But I'm hoping Dallas can take Vegas down in 7. I like Dallas as a team, a young up-and-coming squad that look like they are going to be competitive and a threat for a very long time. And yeah, man, I feel like it's only a matter of time before Dallas, but it's going to be a hard road. And to take out Vegas in the first round, even if they do, that's going to take a bite out of Dallas for sure. But I give the edge to Dallas. Their offense all the way through is unreal. They have really good defense as well. Vegas, I would give the edge there, and then I think it's going to come down to the goaltending. That's really the game breaker, what Ottinger is going to be able to do. Didn't look great in the first game, but neither did the Vegas goaltending. So I'll give it a wash in the first game, and we'll just see where it goes from there. But I think it's going to come down to goaltending. Both these teams can score. They can both defend. It's going to be, so far, an unreal series. But I'm going with Dallas in that series right there. And let's move on now to the next series. Los Angeles Kings, they pull the Edmonton Oilers yet again. So at this point, I feel almost a little bit bad for LA because they just always have to pull those damn Oilers in round 1. And if, it's never easy in the first round, but geez, that's one of the hardest matchups you can have in the first round. And let's see, I don't know, third time's the charm maybe? I don't know. It's not going very well for LA so far, but we'll take a look at their lineup. Alex Lafreniere. Is that correct? Alex Lafreniere. I'm not sure who this player is. I'm looking at his stats. Age 22. Is there another Alex? Okay, well, whatever. He's apparently there on their top line for... Okay, well, I don't really know much about that player then. My bad. That's news to me, so good on you. But he's there with Anze Kopitar. He, I know, a legendary two-way player, one of always in the running for Selke. Two-time Stanley Cup champion, now the captain of the Kings, always leading them in scoring. He had 26 goals this year, only 12 goals out of Alex Lafreniere. I don't know if he's really good defensively or a physical threat. I don't know what's going on with that. Adrian Kempe, not as many goals this year, only 28, but always a threat. Lots of shots out of him. Power play threat as well. Second line, Trevor Moore. We got Philip Deneau and Victor Arvidsson. I got very excited for Trevor Moore because former Leaf, they always leave and do good, and I can only be happy for them. But 31 goals out of Trevor Moore this year, that is awesome. 17 goals out of Philip Deneau, but he is a defensive stalwart. He generally can shut down a lot of the main guys. And then Victor Arvidsson missed a lot of time through injury, only 6 goals from him, but he is a goal-scoring threat. Third line, they have Kevin Fiala there with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Quentin Byfield. Now, on paper, my God, that is a terrifying lineup. But Kevin Fiala, a little bit of a down season, but 29 goals out of him. He's a fantastically skilled forward. And then PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Oh, boy. Not a great season at all out of the guy making $8 million plus. 16 goals, 24 assists. Yikes. But we'll see if he can make his money and his respect or something back in the playoffs, because this is when this guy usually shines, and we'll see if he can do it again. But yeah, he's a big forward that can get under your skin. He can score, he can hit, he can do everything. He just doesn't like to do it in the regular season. A lot of people just say he took the regular season off. So, yeah. And then Quinton Byfield, who is normally on that top line with Anze Kopitar. They have him down on the third line right now. 20 goals, 35 assists. Bit of an up and down year. Like, it really looked like this was going to be his breakout year. Not that 55 points is bad. It's just that it looked like he was going to break out for 70, 80, who knows, more than that. But definitely tapered off, but 20 goals out of Quinton Byfield. Still a good season. That is a nasty third line right there. And then their fourth line, Carl Grundstrom, former Leaf, Blake Lizotte, and Trevor Ruff. So pretty solid defensive fourth line, not crazy. Carl Grundstrom, 8 goals, 7 goals, and 8 goals. So not bad, but there's better ones, but not a bad one. Defensive pairings, you got Mikey Anderson, just another one of those just never appreciated defensive defensemen out there, and Drew Doughty. So Drew Doughty likes to play in the big games. He's generally a game breaker in these series, or in good and bad ways, but Drew Doughty, I think he led the league in minutes this year. He's that guy. He's going to play a lot of minutes and time and all that. 15 goals out of Drew Doughty. Really good season out of him. 2 goals, 16 assists out of Mikey Anderson. 129 blocks and 142 blocks, respectively. You got Vladislav Gavrikov and Matt Roy, who has no stats, so I don't know if he hasn't been in any games this year, but Vladislav Gavrikov got a pretty nice contract out of Los Angeles. 6 goals, 17 assists, only 114 blocks. Expecting more out of him in the playoffs. 20-minute night defenseman, big and defensively responsible. And then rounding it out, Andreas Englund and Jordan Spence. Can't say I know a lot about these guys. I don't know if they got into all the games or anything. If they're missing a couple of guys, let's see if there's any big injuries. I don't see anything other than Phoenix Copley, who is a goaltender. So, speaking of goaltenders, we'll talk about that now. You got Cam Talbot and David Rittich. Big save, Dave. So they've gone with Cam Talbot. He is the starter. He was the main guy for the season. 27, 20, and 6, 913 save percentage. Then Big Save Dave had a pretty nice season. 13, 6, and 3 with a 921 save percentage. So at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they go to Rittich. Not that Talbot has been necessarily bad. It's the Oilers. So I don't know what to say there. Like, they're pretty good goalies on paper. But also on paper, like, you look at the name Cam Talbot and David Rittich, like, that is that Stanley Cup winning goaltending. But then you look at the Kings Knights goaltending last year, and it's like, and they won. So I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily goaltending's fault, but yeah, it's been not necessarily solidified who the goalie is, because Dave has provided some very good goaltending down the stretch. But so far, it has been what's his name? Cam Talbot. So we'll go now over to the Edmonton Oilers, their opponents. Oh dear. It is, it's quite different over here in Edmonton. We have Adam Henrique, Connor McDavid, and Zachy Heisman. 24 goals, 32 goals, and 54 goals out of Hyman. 100 assists out of Connor McDavid. We'll talk about that right now. I think I talked about it last week, but Connor McDavid, 100 assists, one of the very few to ever do it, and Kucherov has done it as well. He was able to finish that one out, so congratulations to both of them. I think they say it's the first time it's happened since Lemieux and Gretzky were in the league together, but in freaking insane point production on this line. You got McDavid with 100 points, with a 54 goal score, and then Adam Henrique has been good. I think he has the record for the longest drought between playoff games, like 1,400 days or something, but he scored a beautiful goal. He's defensively responsible, and yeah, I think he's a great addition to that line. Second line, you got Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Leon Draisaitl, and Warren Foegele. That's a nice line right there, too. Big point production drop-off for Nugent-Hopkins. I don't think if you were expecting him to do 100 points again, I don't know. But still a good season. 18 goals, 49 assists, 41 goals out of Leon Draisaitl, 100-plus points. And Warren Foegele, 20 goals, nothing wrong with that. So Warren Foegele, he will be a big, hopefully flourish in the playoffs. He likes to hit. He's big, but he can put in goals too, with 20 goals for himself. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a veteran, power play, good passer, all around just a solid-ass player. Third line, Evander Kane, Ryan McLeod, and Corey Perry. Very interesting line. If they can awaken Evander Kane somehow, then that's going to be one of the scariest lines in the playoffs with Corey Perry there. And if Evander Kane is cooking, watch the fuck out. 24 goals, 12 goals, 12 goals. So again, grain of salt with Corey Perry. He'd probably have more goals if he wasn't on Chicago for a chunk there. He was also gone for a period for dealing with some stuff. Ryan McLeod, solid third line center. Evander Kane, again, could be a series breaker if he awakens. Third line, Dylan Holloway, Sam Carrick, Matt Janmark. Holloway he was starting to get it going there down the stretch. He's a very fast, skillful player. Might be able to be a threat there on the fourth line. Sam Carrick and Janmark, can't say I know a lot about them. I don't think these guys are going to be playing a whole hell of a lot. Now let's take a look at the defensive pairings. Matthias Ekholm, Evan Bouchard. So very hot difference in defensive play here. Evan Bouchard, pure offensive defenseman, but he is damn good at it. 18 goals, 64 assists, and 105 blocks. I mean, he will block. He's just not very great in his own end. It's okay. He's got Ekholm with him. He's very defensively responsible, very good at it, good with his stick checking. But he can put up points too. 11 goals out of him, so nothing wrong with that. Darnell Nurse, Cody Ceci, pairing number 2, would scare the shit out of me for mostly, but it seems like they've toned it down this year. Darnell Nurse, he is overpaid, but he's a pretty good defenseman. He really cleaned it up this season. He does everything. He shoots, he blocks, he hits, he got 10 goals. I mean, yeah, Darnell Nurse. I like Darnell Nurse. I really like him. But yeah, he's a good top 4 defenseman. Cody Ceci, defensive defenseman. He did put up 25 points, 5 goals, 106 blocks. Yeah, I know, 172 blocks out of Darnell Nurse. He's their main shot blocker on the team. And then you finish it out with Brett Kulak and Vincent Desharnais. Not the strongest third pairing, but not horrible. 121 blocks, 88 blocks. Not a lot of point production. And then in net, it's going to be Stuart Skinner. He's 36, 16, and 5. 905 save percentage, but considering where he started, he cleaned it up pretty okay. It's just the start for Edmonton was so bad. And Calvin Pickard backing him up. 909 save percentage, 12, 7, and 1. So no Jack Campbell. They're just kind of, we're just going to forget about that. We're going to put him down there and not talk about it, okay? Don't talk about it. I will talk about it. But Stuart Skinner, really good goaltending, but, he's not the most consistent, so he's due for bad games here and there, but he can also pull out a shutout out of his ass. So goaltending is kind of a wash. I don't know. It's hard to say because like Stuart Skinner at this point, he's pretty good, man. Like he's a pretty good goaltender. It's just the shaky start. Yeah, that hurt his stats, but I think he's a good goaltender. The defense was just awful in front of him, and now they've cleaned that up as well. But definitely offensively, I wouldn't say they get blown out of the water, but obviously superstar-wise, but LA's got a pretty deep forward lineup, and defensively, I would probably give the edge to LA, goaltending a wash, but with the Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Zach Hyman, like the offense is just so damn good. It's very much so in Edmonton's corner for offense. They have a crazy amount of offensive production out of this team, and it's going to be very, 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 very difficult to stop. That's why I had Edmonton winning the series, and so far they are kicking the shit kicking the shit, but Zach Hyman, fucking hat trick, lost my mind. I turned on that game to watch him score the first one. The crowd in Edmonton, oh my God, they were going fucking crazy. The amount of hats should have been more, but still, Zach Hyman, one of my favorite stories of the year, man. I love that guy. So really good for him. But in terms of the series, I am going with Edmonton in 5 games. It just, at this point, Edmonton really knows how to deal with LA, and they're very difficult to stop. I mean, Hyman's unlocked a new level, and if Evander Kane and that third line start to pump, like, oh good god, like, watch out. You could start seeing some really crazy blowouts. And yeah, with LA, I feel like the only way they can win is if somehow Danault and Kopitar are able to shut down McDavid and Draisaitl, and if they can awaken playoff Dubois and that third line can do some damage, and they would have to shut it down defensively and get some crazy good goaltending. But yeah, I'm going to Edmonton in 5. I don't have any sweeps. I don't think anyone is really. I mean, it's easy to say when someone's down 2-0 that, oh, they're getting swept, but these are all really good teams. Even the Capitals, like, yeah, they're in, getting close to sweep territory, but they've not gone down without a swing. Like, they have not gotten destroyed. So, really good playoffs so far. So let's talk about some of the other series. Let's start with Toronto-Boston. Let's go there. We're fucking going there. So Game 1 was a disaster. Exactly what I expected to happen. I don't know if I predicted the score on this podcast or not, but I know everyone that I was talking to, my wife, all the people at work, I said it was going to be a 5-1 Bruins win. I was like, lock it in, that's going down. They're going to get pumped. They're going to get absolutely overwhelmed. They're going to get mistakes. And that's exactly what happened. They got in fucking penalty trouble. Now, what I will commend the Leafs for is that they do literally look like the most playoff physical team that I have seen in this Sheldon Keefe, Dubas era, Matthews era of the Leafs. Like, I was seeing hits out there. I was seeing Johnny throwing hits. I'm seeing guys that don't usually hit. And I was impressed. I will give them credit for that. I have been impressed with their playoff physicality so far. But that's also gotten them into a little bit of penalty trouble. And we've discussed how awful the Leafs penalty kill has been this season, and especially lately, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. The Boston power play basically playing with their food. Now, I turned the game off. I think around the 4-0 point, I was like, well, there's just no point at this point because the team looked terrible, the stars looked terrible, like Matthews was invisible, Marner was a non-factor, Tavares was moving, but, not a lot at all cooking in that first game. Really just exactly what I was expecting to happen. Get into penalty trouble. That's been the theme the last 3 seasons. Like Kyle Clifford suspension at the beginning. Like it's just was. I was surprised that Revo didn't get in trouble. I've actually really been impressed with that fourth line so far with the Leafs. I think it's been good. But yeah, the Bruins fourth line was better. They scored a quick goal, and that pretty much deflated the whole entire team. They just gave up at that point pretty much, and so did I. Wasn't going to waste the rest of my time and watch a team give up and get angry watching that. So I didn't finish off that game. I couldn't. But the second game was much better. It was starting to look like more of the same shit from the first game where nothing really cooking. Like there's no offense, and that's always been kind of the Bruins matchup favor. They match up very well against Toronto's offense. Offensively, Toronto likes to take it to the outside. They don't like to break into the middle. And that's kind of what you got to fucking do in the playoffs. You got to get in there and score those gritty goals. And Boston's really good at shutting you down on the outside. Like, go ahead. You want to play on the outside? Go for it. We'll shut it down. No problem. And Bruins did that. They played a really good defensive game. Swayman was excellent. And that's the other situation that's going on with this series, is that Boston has fully committed to the switching up the goalies every other game. They've been doing it for months now. Swayman in, Allmark in, Swayman in, back and forth, back and forth. And I really like that situation. I'm honestly, Allmark Swayman, it's one of my favorite goaltending tandems out there, possibly ever. I freaking adore those two. I think it is so awesome, their relationship. But yeah, Allmark goes in game 2. I thought he played great. He made some ridiculous saves. It's just the Leafs got some bounces. That Matthews fucking goal was electric. That was just amazing. And on top of that, the Leafs don't have fucking William Nylander right now. When I heard that, I feel like the Leafs took it the same way that Leaf Nation took it, just deflating. To not have that guy in the lineup, like, probably our most effective offensive threat in the playoffs over this era. He's been the most consistent. He was great last year. He's just been the best. Like, that's the one that you that generally gets called out the least because he's generally pretty freaking good in the playoffs. He had an outstanding regular season. Yes, he was dog shit down the stretch, which I didn't expect him to be like that bad. I don't think he scored a goal, like 1 goal in 14 games or something, but and some people saying that it's like a conspiracy that they're keeping him out of the lineup. Baloney, shut up. But yeah, that's a huge blow to the Leafs lineup, obviously. That changes the dynamic of the team, where they were originally going to have like a 3-line threat with 1 star on each line, and that would make it harder for the Bruins to cover them defensively. But with 1 superstar out, they were able to, I don't even think they actually put Lindholm and McAvoy together. They kept it the same, but yeah, so Game 3 went a lot better for the Leafs. They played better. They didn't get in as much penalty trouble. Defensively, I still don't love it, but I really like though again, they got to be smart with it. Like, don't just lay out a big hit and then leave, an odd man rush wide open. Like, place your hits, like the one, like, just make sure you're finishing your checks in the corner. You don't have to go for the big cross ice hit or anything like that. Just make sure you're wearing them down. Just make it miserable to play against you. And I feel like they've done a commendable job this time around. Generally, they're like a non-physical factor or threat. But this year, yeah, man, I'm getting for the first time in a long time, getting excited when the Leafs dump and chase, because I'm going to see a big fucking hit, and I'm like, yes, like, God, finally. And Bertuzzi, Domi off the hop, getting into it with Marchand, that little fucking rat. And of course, the second the Leafs get up in that game 2, Marchand immediately starts doing his shenanigans, selling like a freaking drama queen actor, like, oh, what a big baby. But that was a satisfying game. That was a really good game. Now, like I was talking crowds, is it just me, or is the Bruins like they're not quiet, but it's definitely, there's definitely like an air of anxiety in that crowd or something. Like what are you guys worried about? Like, I know Boston, well, I guess, last year they're worried about. They don't want that to happen again. Another big first round embarrassment. Now, I don't think losing to the Leafs this year would be a big embarrassment for the Bruins, but yeah, last year definitely, maybe that did a little bit more mental damage than we thought. I don't know. I'm not really seeing it out of the Bruins. I'm seeing generally the same Bruins team. They're playing really good defense, great goaltending. Yeah, man. It's just Marchand hasn't been all that effective. Like, I saw him, he went into the corners, he went for a big hit, and he was the one that got absolutely fucking ended. And I was like, yeah, fuck you, dude. And it's definitely a different feeling to the series. We don't have Bergeron out there no more. So that's, that's huge. But, and Pasternak, he's I think he scored a goal, but I don't know. I haven't really noticed him as much. He hasn't been as big of a threat out there for me, but so far so good, man. Like, I definitely had the wind taken out of my sails after game 1, and even just going into it, hearing that Willie, I was already like, ooh, that's just, that's an excuse for them to lose, and they're probably going to. So yeah, I went into it feeling like they were going to lose, and they did. Now we're going home. We got a huge win on the road, which, again, don't read too much into that. Everyone's like, oh, you're not in trouble until you lose on the road. The Leafs have beaten Boston numerous times on the road in the playoffs. I feel like some of their bigger wins have come against Boston on the road. I almost feel like they play better on the road. It's at home where I feel like their struggles usually are. So we'll see how we respond tonight at home. We'll see how Boston responds to the Leafs. And yeah, man, it's going to be hopefully electric. Like, I don't know if it's just comparatively, like, the Winnipeg crowd was fucking goddamn sane, and the shot of outside the building and on that street, I was like, oh my god, it is just carnage out there. And yeah, dude, so hopefully we get a really good Leaf building tonight. The sad thing is that it's like the diehard fans, we can't afford to go to those games. Like, even if I had the money, I just can't justify like spending $1,600 to go to a thing that I may not have a good time at. And I feel like, I don't know, it's just something off about going to NHL games for me. I didn't like my experiences, and I can't afford to go to playoff experiences. It's just too freaking much, and for me, not worth it. But I'm hoping for a great atmosphere for Toronto tonight. We really need it, and I hope with some of those big hits, and the guys like Benoit, who have played pretty good, we might see Brody coming back into the lineup. He was the odd man out, which some people might have an eyebrow raised, but honestly, he kind of deserved to be out of the lineup coming in. He has not been good. But Lyubushkin didn't play a lot, took a stupid freaking penalty, and that's, again, the Leafs really got to watch out, man. Like, don't take stupid penalties like that. I think McCabe took a stupid penalty. They got to watch the after the scrum stuff because the refs are all over it. The refs are, it doesn't feel like, it feels more similar to regular season reffing. There's a little bit of leniency, but it's not as loose as normal, which for me, against the Bruins, I appreciate, because the reffing sometimes is just fucking bullshit. And no, it has absolutely not been perfect, and I'm not really complimenting it, but it hasn't been pissing me off as much. So there's that. We'll see. So the Leafs really just gotta fucking smarten up. We'll see if Willie comes back. They say he's questionable, which in my eyes, if he hasn't been announced in, he's not going to be there. So I'm not expecting him for Game 3, but they showed that they can win without him. Marner's got to wake the fuck up, man. He has been a non-factor out there. I have not noticed a single thing that he's done out there. Bertuzzi, Domi look good. Really like that play at a Domi. Like, I just like Domi, man. And Bertuzzi's cooking. Like, yeah. I want a little bit more out of Matthew Nyes. Like, he's definitely, moving. He's creating space for some guys, but it'd be nice to see him start breaking towards the front of the net and crashing and getting in there offensively. So, very excited for Game 3. We're about an hour, well, with the fucking way that the games have been starting, probably like 3 hours away from puck drop, because it took like 45 freaking minutes for the puck to drop in Game 1. I was losing my freaking mind, but gonna be really, really excited for that game. Unlike the Nashville-Vancouver series. Now, I didn't get to have a lot of time with these games. I was watching a little bit of it at work last night during my lunch break, and I caught the last 10 minutes of the third period, and I did like a triple take, and like, oh my God, I couldn't believe the shot count on that. It was like fucking 12 shots to 15 shots with 7 minutes left in the game. Like, oh my God, like how slow and defensive was this game. Like, I don't know if it was like really boring, but the 10 minutes that I watched were just dreadful. Like, the Vancouver Canucks crowd was just dead. It just felt really dreadful, man, and that sucks. Like, but I feel good for Nashville picking up a huge win on the road. Game 1 was good for the Canucks. I mean, Dakota Joshua, goodness gracious, this guy could emerge in the playoffs. Like, watch out. 2 big goals I think he had in the first game, and he's big. Like, oh man, he could be that game breaker for Vancouver, because so far I don't think Elias Pettersson's been doing very much at all. He's been kind of very quiet as well coming into the playoffs. Some people speculating he's injured, some people speculating he's just playing like shit. So hopefully he can wake up for the sake of Vancouver. And the worst thing now is that Thatcher Demko is injured, and he is questionable for the return of the series, and that's a huge blow for Vancouver. Not that Casey DeSmith is a bad goaltender. He actually provided very good numbers for Vancouver in the backup role this season, but Demko, he's just Demko, man. Like, he's an aura for the Vancouver Canucks back there. The team plays different when he's back there. So yeah, that's a massive blow for Vancouver. That was not a very good game for them in Game 2, so they need to respond big. And yeah, man, I felt bad for Casey DeSmith, like, to have I think it was 4 goals on him and 12 shots or something. Like, yeah, that sucks. That's definitely going to hurt the confidence of the team. Like, fuck, if we just had Demko back there. And again, not putting it on DeSmith necessarily. I didn't get to watch the game, but like, whew, that is not great. So far that series has been not as, at least, well, for me, I only watched 10 minutes of it, and the game was basically done, and they were in shutdown mode. But yeah, so far it's been a little bit not as exciting as I was hoping for. But Tampa Bay and Florida, holy shit, that's been some good stuff. So again, I work evenings, nights, so I don't get to watch the games in their entirety. I have to watch a lot of highlights and stuff, but who didn't see that Bobrovsky save on Matt Dumba? Oh my God. I feel like Matt Dumba's jaw is still wide open. Like, he just cannot believe it. I can't believe it. No one can believe it. One of the wildest saves I've ever seen. That was insane. As fucking out of it as you can be as a goaltender was Bobrovsky, and he just flings that arm backwards, falls down, and he makes one of the greatest saves ever. Period. And Dumba, my God, I have to feel a little bad for that guy, because Jesus, you had it, and that was that. But really good competitive series so far. Bobrovsky's been ridiculous. Vasilevsky's been... There's been some questionable goals I've seen scored in the series, like a lot of... Like, I know it's Tampa player pushing a Florida player into Vasilevsky, and he gets knocked over and the goal goes in, and it counts. I mean, it does count. It's your own player smacking him into your goalie. So yeah, it looks like a really mean series so far. I'd love to watch a full game. I'm dying to watch a full Florida Tampa game, because I love this rivalry. And so far, looking at the highlights, looking like it's provided a pretty damn entertaining series so far. I love playoff Bennett. This guy comes to play when it's playoff time, baby. Kachuk's been cooking out there, doing pretty good. And fucking Ekman-Larsson, underratedly been a fantastic addition for Florida. He's been playing really, really good over there. So good defense as well from Florida. A very enjoyable series. Let me know what your favorite series has been so far, and what other series we got. Colorado-Winnipeg series has been fucking bananas. That crowd, like I said, in freaking insane. So that series is locked up now, 1 apiece. Yeah, very disappointing for Jets last night to lose that game. The offense got through for Colorado, man. Like, they got some good goals. Nichushkin looks like he's waking up, and that guy is another one of those game breakers in the playoffs. He can just destroy. He could just mutilate a team. He is the kind of guy that can win you a series if he starts to turn it on, and he looks like he's cooking. Makar, McKinnon, they're getting going. Like, so we'll see how it goes for Winnipeg. That they have not looked bad either. Like, Kyle Connor, Velarde, Scheifele, that line is disgusting. Adam Lowry's been fantastic. Josh Morrissey's been really good, and Hellebuck, first game he was great. Second game he was struggling out there a little bit. But I imagine Hellebuck, you're going to see, he's going to be outstanding, I think, in Game 3. He's going to try and lock it down. I feel like he's the kind of guy that loves to play on the road and silence those crowds. So watch out for Hellebuck. I'm not going to say the S word, because that's fucked up and really hard to do. But I'm expecting a fantastic bounce back from the Jets. They're going back to Colorado. That crowd's going to be nuts, but I don't know if anyone's topping Winnipeg. That was insane. Absolute. The Edmonton one was really good too. I love their goal horn. The first Boston Bruin goal horn that I heard in the series literally made me sick a little bit. I felt sick to my fucking stomach. I hate that goal song. That freaking horn is just atrocious. I hate it. But this Winnipeg-Colorado series, I have Winnipeg taking it, but it's going to be a battle, man. Velarde has been unbelievable. Like, if he just had a fully healthy season, like, his numbers would look a lot better, but he is an unreal player. Like, don't sleep on that guy. Okay, we'll finish it off with the Carolina and New York series. Kind of not going to say one-sided, like New York blew yet another lead, very New York fashion. Sorokin apparently will be starting in Game 3. I don't blame them for going Varlamov. He kind of got them there, and he's had a pretty good track record in playoffs before. And but now I feel it's a safe time to go to Sorokin. See if he can steal you a game or two. He has that ability. He just really hasn't looked like Sorokin this year, so who knows? But yeah, Carolina's just going to work, baby. They're looking great. Their crowd is unfucking believable. I love their crowd as well. Yeah, man, I don't really have much to say. I haven't watched a game in this series yet. Just have to watch the highlights for me, but the series I wasn't looking all that forward to. Not a type of matchup that I'm going to be all that interested in, but from what I've watched, it's actually been pretty damn exciting, mostly because of the crowd. The crowd is just ridiculous for everything that they're doing, so that's been a lot of fun. But let me know what your favorite series so far has been. For me, oh man, that Colorado-Winnipeg stuff was awesome. Vegas Dallas has been really good so far. Leafs Boston, I want to enjoy it more, but I'm so nervous, and Game 1 going in, but I'm loosening up now, and I'm feeling pretty good about the series. Game 2 was pretty damn good. Game 1 sucked. There's nothing to it, just sucked. Probably a lot of fun for Bruins fans, but it wasn't that good of a hockey game, just wasn't very competitive. Wasn't a lot of big, good chances, but yes. So that's all the playoff stuff we'll talk about today. We'll always be touching on more. Hopefully I can get eyes on more games. It's just work nights, dogs, so I don't get to watch all of them in their entirety. So we'll talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about Utah. Try and keep it limited, but it is official. They're coming, and there's a whole bunch of hoopla of the history of the team and who's keeping it, who has to keep it. We're not going to worry about that right now. Let's talk about the names. Let's talk about some of the names that they've been trademarking and what the hell are they going to call that team, which apparently is not necessarily on the front burner, which is understandable. They have a lot of more important things to do. Moving a team over. Like, there's a lot of things to do first before naming the damn thing. But they have trademarked a lot of really good names here, honestly. So you got the Blizzard, the Venom, Outlaw, Yetis, Fury. Like, I like all that, man. Like, all of those. I like the Blizzard. I like Venom, Outlaw. Yetis is a popular one right now. A lot of people are liking Yeti. It'd be the Yetis, apparently. But I like all of those, man. Like, I really like Venom and Outlaw. I think save Outlaw for Houston. If Houston comes in, the Houston Outlaws, like, what, does that not just fit? That seems like a fit to me. I don't know. Houston, I think Outlaws, like Cowboys and Dallas and Texas and all that shit. So I don't know. I like that one. But those are some good ones. They're also doing like some, mascot fucking bracket challenge or something. They're going to pit animals against each other in real life. No, I'm just kidding. But they're going to do some sort of mascot challenge, and it's probably going to be some horrific looking creature that we don't know what it is exactly, like Gritty, which is great. I would love more wacky fucking just strange mascots instead of your typical, bird or whatever the fuck. I don't know. Like the Maple Leafs, it's a polar bear for something. Like, what? I don't know. But yeah, that's really cool. Speaking of really cool, Colorado. So McKinnon, he passes Peter Stastny for the most points in a season in franchise history at 140. I don't know. I think he might have finished with more than 140, but the record was 140, and McKinnon owns it now, which is like really, really impressive. Not only was that impressive for Stastny to be holding it and held it for so long, when you have legends like Sakic and Forsberg and Sundin in that franchise's history, and now it's McKinnon. That is great. I mean, he may and probably will go down as the greatest Colorado Avalanche in history, unless Makar just, who knows what that kid's gonna do. But I mean, that's so awesome for McKinnon. So congratulations to him on a really impressive franchise record. So speaking of impressive, I know everybody wanted Matthews to hit 70, and it is super ultra mega super duper disappointing that he didn't hit 70, but 69 better. That's a sex number. We're always going to look back on that and be like, oh, ha, and you're always going to get a little giggle with that kind of thing, like, oh, he didn't get 70. So yeah, it is a little sucky, but 69 goals, bro. Like, that's unbelievable. Who's to say that he doesn't hit 70-something next year? But honestly, again, this is the kind of stuff that Detroit learned when they started winning their cups, that it's not just about point statting and stuff. Point padding is what I'm trying to say. Not like they were really forcing that 70 goal thing, and it doesn't really matter. Like, everything was set in stone essentially by the end. So it was like, yeah, just get Matthews to 70, and the fact that he didn't get it and the post that he hit, like, fuck. So it sucks, but 69 is an unreal amount of freaking goals for a person to score in a single season. The most that I have ever seen in a season that I have actively been watching hockey, and who knows, man, he can score more. Who knows what the goal is going to be. Hopefully, like, I feel like Matthews nailed a couple of things this year. Like, not only should he be in the Selke conversation, because the dude was blocking shots, he has a great amount of takeaways, he rarely gets the puck taken from him. Like, he's definitely going to start being in there more and more, and I think he's only going to get better defensively more and more, and possibly more physical. So just an outstanding season for Auston Matthews. At some point, we'll do like a whole season, end of the season stats, and we'll talk about everybody's stats. But right now, playoffs is the most important thing, but there is something important we need to talk about in Buffalo because Lindy Ruff is back. Oh my God, I didn't even think about it. So last week we talked about the firing of the Buffalo coach, whose name I don't remember anymore, but I didn't even talk about potential candidates. I didn't even think about Lindy Ruff was out there available, and he's the longest tenured coach in Buffalo history. The guy's been there forever. He played there. So it kind of feels right, but is it the right fit? I don't know. I don't think he has a great track record with young players, but we'll see, man. Regardless, that got a pop out of me. I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going back. That is fun. That's a lot of fun. So we'll see how it goes this time around for him. I think that would be so awesome if Lindy Ruff came back, got him into the playoffs. Oh, what a story that would be. So we'll see how that one plays out. But Lindy Ruff is back, man. Oh my God. But sadly, we have a few guys here that won't be back because they are retiring. Starting with Jeff Carter out of Pittsburgh. He is retiring. And just a really good freaking career for Jeff Carter. I mean, he definitely fell off quite a bit there at the end, and the contract wasn't very good, but always a really good player, man. Scored, won a cup, I think, in LA, and yeah, he was just always a really good player. Should have been a Leaf, I think, at one point. With Philadelphia, there was a trade there with Sundin, where I think it was Jeff Carter coming to the Leafs, but it is what it is. So congratulations on a very nice career, Jeff Carter. And this one, a little more sad. Colorado Pavel Francouz is calling it a career. He is retiring, which sucks, man. A very short but sweet career. He only got into 70 some odd games and a really good winning record because he was a good goalie when he was healthy. Whenever that guy was in playing, he was always really good. If he could just stay healthy, he probably would be the starting goaltender for Colorado. He was awesome. I feel like every time he was in there, he was always playing really good. It seemed like the team really liked him as well. So, yeah, that one's a sad one. I don't know what the future is going to be for him, if he has a role with the team or whatever the fuck. But wishing that guy the best because, yeah, that was a fun, short little career for Pavel Francouz. But there you go. So we'll touch in with Calgary here for just a second. I know I don't talk about them all that much because it's just been that kind of season. There's not a lot to talk about. It was a miserable bullshit season, but and it was a season of selling. They sold off, and now we're just waiting for draft picks and, potentially rebuilding, retooling this team. But Jacob Markstrom is unhappy. Oh my goodness, he's unhappy, everybody. Well, I think we already knew that. He was pretty upset at the fact with the whole trade deadline thing going down and getting out, and they don't decide to trade him. New Jersey gets a different goalie in Jake Allen, and so we'll see. He's more than likely going to get moved at the trade or at the draft, off-season, somewhere like that. I highly doubt that Markstrom is going to be a Calgary Flame next season. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Hopefully they can get something for him, something decent. I feel like they really, really wasted not trading him this year. He was one of the best goaltenders in the league, and I feel like you generally don't get all that much for goalies, and you might have been able to get a first if you traded him, which doesn't happen very often. So we'll see what they end up getting for him. It probably at this point won't be very much, and they'll probably have to retain, but maybe a second. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect now out of a Markstrom trade whenever that happens, but what else has happened is some shit went down in Montreal. Marty St. Louis extended for 3 more years, so that's pretty dope. I think he's already, so he's going to be there for a long time. That's fine. He seems to have fit in excellently. He works really well with the young guys, Cole Caulfield and Suzuki especially, and they have a lot of young guys coming in. Lane Hudson, he played a few games there to finish out the season and looked really, really good. So I'm not going to say that watch out, Montreal is steamrolling to a playoff spot next year, but I think it's safe to say you're going to see a much more competitive Montreal Canadiens. Like Slavkovsky really fucking started turning it on. So another year of growth. we'll see if he can start out on fire next season and keep that production going throughout the year. But yeah, man, the Montreal Canadiens been coming along really nicely. A lot of impressive young players, and Layton Hudson could make a big impact for the Canadiens next season, but you're just going to have to wait until next season, and you're just going to have to wait until the next episode of the GX HockeyCast, because that's all I got for you today, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Again, let me know what your favorite playoff series has been so far, and which games are you watching the most, and which ones are you the most excited for, and all that great stuff. The best way you can let me know your opinions is to follow along on Twitter. You can send a message and do shit like that. Follow along for announcements. And there is an email address if you want to have private conversation, send in your question, just have a chat. There's an email address. I upload all of these episodes to the YouTube channel, GamerGX Videos. Description is down in the description, or the links are in the description. Okay, so that's all down there. Great spot to just drop a comment in the comment section. Ask a question there. I'll answer it live on the podcast. Shout out your name. All that good stuff. Be a lot of fun, and I would love to do that. So again, thank you everybody so much for listening. Hit that like button, review the podcast, help out the little guy over here, and we'll be back again with some more GX Plus Cast.